Resolved that the Board of Education appoint Douglas Beebe as Chair Pro Tem for this meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Chris and Dave?
Yep.
Call to order. Pledge of Allegiance. John, can you start us off? Thank you, sir.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Padraig Bean.
Here.
Douglas Beebe.
Here.
John Fairchild.
Here.
Christopher Gadway.
Here.
Patty LaFlemme. Here. Ed Marin. Nicole Kapoor. Richard Spears. Here. David Trudeau. Here.
Resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Patty?
Second.
Second. Patrick? Thank you. Excuse me? I don't think so, do we? And we'll go to public comment. Anyone in the audience like to address the board? Right. Well, thank you for coming anyway. Appreciate it. Reports. We have Jennifer Parliament, our business manager. She's going to give us a quick budget and revenue expenditure.
I don't know how quick it will be.
All right.
This is my wheelhouse. This is my nerdy moment, okay? I like numbers. So I gave you guys all the packets. Today I think I sent them out. I printed a revised revenue sheet. The one on top is the one in front of you that's in your packet. The numbers really didn't change. I moved a little bit of revenue and money around because I had made a mistake. Bottom line is the same. So really no change, but I had put the wrong number down in Medicaid reimbursement, so I had to fix that. So when you're looking at that, it shows our property taxes. That's our levy. That's what we decided on, the 1.91%. So that's your 23.5. Okay, so that's the tax levy. And then the state aid and other revenues is your $27 million. Appropriated reserves, $225,000, and the appropriated fund balance is $2 million. So that's where we come up with a total. To break it down into smaller pieces is the next group of numbers. Now, I just want to be, the state budget has not been approved yet, so this is the governor's proposal, okay, what's in here. April 1st, you're supposed to get the approved final budget. It's not an election year, so more than likely we're not going to get that on April 1st. So I'll be waiting until they approve the final budget. I'm saying by April 10th, I'm hoping they'll have it done. That's my hope. But until then, these numbers will not be final. So this is just preliminary. This is all based on the governor's proposal. So as you can see, there's the pilots that I have gotten from the county. That's their best estimate at this moment in time. Interest income is obviously going up because interest rates are going up. So we feel we're going to do a little bit better on our interest in our bank accounts. CPSC refund from the county, that's administrative fees, tuition from foster placements, rental property, sale of scrap, refund from BOCES from prior year BOCES, refund from prior year expenses, unclassified revenue, shared services, income from athletic mergers and things like that, pre-K collaboration, that's from money from the county that we get from our integrated UPK program, which is very beneficial. And then you see your state aid number in green there, the $25 million. That's what the governor's proposal is right there, okay? And then the breakout of that is down below. And it breaks it out. The big number increase here is foundation aid. The governor has made it as fully funded. And it looks like the Senate and Assembly, they're going to everybody's agreeing to that. So feel pretty confident that that's going to happen. We are going to be fully funded, which is huge. As you can see, it's over a $3 million increase. It should have been done a long time ago, but we're getting there. So the rest are all minimal increases. It's our BOCES aid, our high cost excess aid, hardware technology, library textbook, transportation aid, building aid, all all typical stuff, all very similar to what it was the year before. So the only big change there is our foundation payment, which is a good thing. And if you were already fully funded, the schools are getting a 3% increase. So we did much better than that, which is good because we've been underfunded for several years. So that's the revenue side. Any questions on the revenue side that we want to go over first?
All right, so on the appropriated reserves,
Yep.
the 225 versus the 250, what is appropriated?
That's coming from our debt service. So what happens when you have a capital project and there's money left over, it goes into debt service. The only thing you can use debt service for is to pay off debt. That's it. There's no other allowable expense. So it goes into a fund, and we appropriate it every year to offset our capital payments, or our bonds and bans and stuff like that.
Next one is fund balance, that's $2 million. Is that for a regular fund balance, that's more than 4%? Is that being taken out of the budget for, what is it doing here?
We're using that to offset our budget for the 23-24 school
That's
year.
what I want to know.
Yeah.
Are we offsetting the budget with that?
Yeah.
So my next question would be, who comes up with that amount, and could we use more for capital?
We can use more. We can use less. Typically here in years past, it's been right around 1.5 has been your typical. We increased it last year to 2.1, and the year before I think it was 2.1. If I remember correctly. Sorry, going backwards. Now you want to try and go back to your consistent 1.5. But if you do that all in one chunk, you have a big dip or a big raise in your right, which people don't like. So we're gradually coming down and getting back to our 1.5, 1.6 million over time, which you have seen in our 5-year plan as well, it's going back down.
So for our fund balance is half the over the 4% that's required by the.
Correct. Yeah.
So how does the rest of that?
It stays in the fund balance.
It does, even though it's over what the 4% is, do we get a penalty?
No.
We don't.
No.
So why do they set 4%?
That's New York State. They're trying to get it raised because 4% really is very minimal. But it's a battle we've been fighting for, I can't tell you how long.
So is this going to help taxpayers at all from last year to this year that we did have extra money come from the state?
Yeah, because if we didn't have the extra money coming from the state, a fund balance, that $2 million has to come from the taxpayers. I mean, this originally came from the taxpayers, so it's like a savings account that we've set aside and we're using it as we need it.
Have we got interest on it? Is that what your interest is? Your interest income?
Some of it. Some of it's in our capital fund, some of it's in our debt service. There are several places that we have money that we put into the high interest accounts, so we make money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I program with the one pilots, like where the pilot, like understanding like the green line and the electric line, like where the town has pilots too that they get.
The pilots don't, they're not, we don't create them. They come from the county.
Oh, so it's the county's pilots, but they're,
Right, we have a fight in it, we can fight them,
okay.
but in the end, it is if the county says this company is getting payment in lieu of taxes, they're getting a payment in lieu of taxes. But we do
Make something of it. Money-wise.
right, they're not fully taxed, so it does hurt us if you don't like pilots, because it also hurts your tax levy limit as well, so it hurts your calculation. And you're obviously not getting the tax payments from.
I'm sorry, I spent all day on the budget, so. Unclassified revenues.
It's miscellaneous revenue. So from
any place.
oddball things, yes.
Like,
Oh,
Thank you.
The list goes, it can
Just give
be,
us one or two. Just to
Um, one year we did a community agreement. Instead of a pilot, it was $186,000. That went to unclassified revenue. There was no classification for it, wasn't budgeted for, it was not
Yep.
expected, anticipated, so it went miscellaneous revenue.
sure.
I'm trying to think of all the little stuff that goes in there. Was that?
Any questions?
Yeah, if somebody were to, give us a donation.
Sure. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, just miscellaneous stuff.
Understood.
Everything else, I think, I got a couple questions on funny because I got to wait the end to ask you, right? Because I have questions on the last page.
So that's revenue in a nutshell.
I never used to ask questions at all. So, feeling complete.
And then we get into the expenditures. As you can see, there's 25 pages of expenditures, okay? And how I start a budget is I literally do a rollover budget. So I take out all the expenses from the previous year and I roll them into the next year. And then I look at, okay, salary increases, contractual increases, things that we're still going to do, but they've gone up. So it's a rollover budget with all of that. And then we look at, okay, now what do we want to add? Where can we add? And that's what we did at ATM. When was it, probably January, February? I don't remember.
It's hard to say now.
I know. So what we do as an administrative team, we get together and we go through the wish list. What do people need? What do people want? And then we see what we can fit into our budget. So the wish list here. And then we'll put this in. So I know we've talked about this at previous board meetings too, but I'll just go over it real quick. So there was counseling, AIS in the middle school, Beekmantown Elementary, Cumberland Head, special education teacher in the high school, middle school art teacher, an additional Beekmantown Elementary teacher, CAP courses we made whole, so that way when the grant money goes away, we're able to fully fund all of those CAP courses. BHSN supplies crisis counselors. That's also been funded by the grants over the last couple of years. We put it in the budget because we want to continue those services and actually increase them if necessary. We put enough in the budget to actually have one in every building.
Was that the $300,000 grant we got? Yeah, for a couple of new positions. Is that included in this budget? We talked about it. What?
All of these positions that I'm listing.
The $300,000 was a set aside.
Oh, the set aside. It doesn't look like the set aside is going to happen, but the all the three AIS people is for the set aside.
Okay.
But it's now being talked about that the set aside is actually not. It's just going to be regular foundation aid money, so that it won't be restricted.
So we're talking about putting BHSN people in every building, full schedule or partial schedule?
Go ahead.
So, yeah, because right now there's one shared between middle high school and one shared between Cumberland Head and Beekmantown Elementary.
Yep.
So we talked about trying to get one full-time in each building.
Okay. If we do move one of the 811s to Cumberland Head, like has been discussed, will they have a full-time crisis counselor and a BHSN counselor, or will it strictly be BHSN?
That hasn't really been discussed to that level yet. We had talked about at a previous board meeting adding a counselor on staff too, aside from the BHSN counselors, and talking about where that's best utilized. So we hadn't gotten quite that far yet.
Yeah. I was just curious if we were going to be using BHSN for positions that could be permanent positions for staff. Like
No, this is in addition to
Okay.
More to supplement.
more supplement.
Okay.
And it has been, counseling positions have been hard to fill as well. So that has been helpful.
You said counseling positions have not been hard
to fill.
Oh, they have been hard
Yeah.
to fill. Yep.
And then the last thing on the wish list was an additional tech person in the IT. So those were the wish list items, and I know you guys have heard about some of these already. And we were able to get all of that into the 25 pages you'll be looking at. So it's all in there. So we looked at a rollover budget, and then we went through and put in all the things that people were looking at. So I know Mr. Fairchild had some questions, a page and a half of questions. He did his job. Patty, I know you have some questions. I think they're probably similar, so I can go over just.
Go over this and I'll write down what you said.
And he just had some questions about why things are going up. And I think.
Thank you, that was my main question.
What I was really trying to find out is were they additional bodies or were there things where we went over the budget we're correcting to so that we're not always behind the same categories, which typically should be done with the budget. And there's one that really jumps out at me. Is the one that's got a $200,000 increase from $5,000.
And that's the BHSN.
Okay.
That's the crisis counseling.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
That one.
So we want that in our budget because this grant money only goes to September of 2024. And in September of 2024, we don't want to say, okay, now we have the services are gone. We didn't account for that. We don't have the money set aside. We have to get rid of those services. So we're preparing for that money when it goes away. Because in September 2024, it's the source of money and art money is gone. So that's what we're preparing for.
And I would assume administratively we'd be looking at potential other grants to keep funding that if we can in the future. Things are out there.
Keep funding what?
Those positions that would be covered by a grant now.
We have very few positions in the grant.
Okay, but you said the grant would end in 2024.
Yep.
If there's monies out there available through grants to help continue to help pay for those, I would assume that administratively would be looking.
Yeah, we put, in the ARP and the ESSER money, we put very few people in it. We put salaries in it for doing professional development and things like that, but we didn't put bodies in there because it's a dangerous game to play. Because when that money goes away, yes.
But what he's talking about for BHSN, if we're talking one person in each building, so we're talking 4 people full-time, right, from BHSN? Was your question pertaining to what do we do, since those are obviously necessary positions?
That's why I put them in the budget.
Yeah, so then it funds those positions.
What I'm saying is, I think administratively we should keep looking at other possible ways to fund that in the future if we can, so we don't have to spend district money.
Right. I don't have any other grants that can sustain a $200,000 expense, nor do that it fits into
Sure.
this time either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that one's not going to come up.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
I'm
Grants
just
come up.
asking that we keep our eyes on it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Grants come up all the time, and Shelley Manchester is our grant person, and she's very good at finding grants. But at this time, it would be ill-advised of me not to budget it in this budget.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Because I don't have more grant money.
Yeah. So when it goes away, we will have the funds to backfill. Got it. Yep.
So that's one of the big ones. That's one of the big increases that I'm sure you all saw. And we're like, what's that? So some of the other ones that Mr. Fairchild had were account codes, and I'm going to talk Greek to you guys, so if I'm not making sense, let me know, because I'm going to talk in account codes. But
I just look through this sort of order on page 3 of the operations. Several areas there were significant increases in operation costs, overtime.
yes, well, your first one was 1434.98, which was a BOCES coaster code. Personnel BOCES coaster code. That did go up by almost 40% because we added a coaster. 602 for our employee benefit FSA HRA program. We have been using Preferred Group, doing our HRA and FSA, and it was a nightmare. Most of the schools have jumped ship, and BOCES took it over and is doing a great job. We're still got some kinks to work out. This is our first year with them doing this. It was their first year taking this on, but it's a shared service. So I think there's 10 schools involved because Preferred had just become to the point we were spending more time trying to figure out their billing for them than they were doing for themselves. It wasn't a good program. People were losing out on money, so we switched. So that's what that increase is for. Then in the 1620 code, a lot of this, as you can see, is overtime is going up, and some of the substitutes are going down. Some are both going up because we can't find full-time employees. And the ones we find aren't the people we want, but their bodies. So it's becoming a huge issue. We've had more today. So what we have are people that are here, that have been here with us, are covering the duties of the people we're missing. So when we're short 5 custodians in a night, our old timers and our maintenance crew are stepping up, and they're working double time. So that's why the overtime's going up, because I can't fill the regular slots. And we're trying. It's not that we're not trying.
And are we looking into third-party companies?
The thing is, just clean schools, it's very hard. I have called around. Nobody has the capability to clean buildings of this size.
Yeah.
And you have to use certain products.
Yeah.
They all it has to be, but nobody around here, we'd have to pay somebody from Albany to come every day to clean. I don't see how that's going to be cost effective.
Sure.
Seriously, yes, yes,
It's hard to retain our custodians because we are one of the lower
Yes.
paying school districts in the area.
yeah. But
They leave us, they go to Saranac, they get paid quite a bit more.
yeah, well, from the business official meetings we've had, we're all in the same boat. Custodians, when you can go make $17.50 at Dunkin' Donuts pouring coffee, or you have to clean a toilet, which one are you going to pick? You know what I mean? It's tough. We're competing in a very tough market, and for that kind of employee. And
Why did we start that low?
what's that?
Why did we start that low?
We start at $15 an hour for the contract. That's where we're at. This contract is coming up for negotiations. It ends on June 30th of this year. So we just upped everybody to $15
Yeah,
last year.
Can we just do that?
We just did that just to try and keep the people we had. I mean, so
But we're still quite a bit lower than the other school districts for
What do they
that
get?
area.
You know, standards?
I'm doing an analysis for that for negotiation. So I'll put that up.
I think it's a minimum of a couple bucks an hour more.
Yes, so those discrepancies there where you see overtime going up and some of the the one substitute code is because our subs, they don't want a permanent job. They're older people that we have working for us. They don't want a permanent job, but when you have somebody out almost every day, they're coming in to fill in. So, the people that are here that are committed are wonderful. We're lucky that we have these people that will step up and do this for us because they're working really hard. It's a lot to come in and work 2 shifts every day. And they're doing the best they can, but we need bodies. Capable bodies would be preferred. And it's tough. It's tough. We hire, we fire. It's just that kind of, we give a try. Doesn't work out, we try again. But it's a battle. So all the 1620 codes, that's really what you're seeing for the overtime and the subs.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, the 1624-62 code, the operations of plant custodial, that went up because of the trash removal. Trash removal is going way up. And really, we go out to bid every year, but the only person that ever bids it is Casella. They're the only person around. So it's not like we can go somewhere else, or like I said, we go out to bid every year for trash. Every year.
That's the business we get into.
So, and we get 1 bid every year. And then the maintenance salary increases. Same thing, the overtime, the maintenance guys. We've been down a maintenance guy for months and months and months. We do have someone that we're hiring, but the rest of the guys pick up the slack. Well, that position is open. So, 1981-490, that BOCES administrative code. Page is up.
Did you say 19?
19, yeah.
Page 5.
Yeah, page 5, 1981-490. That, we don't have any control over that. That's BOCES administrative costs. They tell us what it is and we have to pay it. So, we are paying for their services and their people and their retirements and all that good stuff. So, we don't have any control over that figure. Then we're at 2020 150s, which are on the same page. There last year we had, I don't know if you remember, but Mr. Villa was split between the 2 buildings, Cumberland Head and Beekmantown Elementary. So I only had a 50% salary in each code. This year there is a full-time person in each building. So that's why that blew up for those reasons. Um, 2020-490, which is page 7 probably. Yeah, page 7. That is a coaster we added, a 506 coaster. And Holly, you'll be able to, the DEI.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes, thank you. That, we have to subscribe to that coaster to be in compliance, correct? Yes. So that is where that money is coming from, is that coaster that we and then the 2110 codes, I know, John, you wanted to look at those. But the increases obviously are these AIS teachers, the middle school art teacher, the PE teacher, and salary increases. So the only additions were those ones that I listed. Everything else is salary increases, but they're contractual. And then the 2110-400, the $200,000 increase, we've gone over that. That was a BHSN. $2110-470, which is on page 11, which is tuition paid to a public facility. Holly, I don't know if you want to kind of explain. This is the gen ed portion, and then there's also a special ed. We have kids that are in residential facilities.
Yes, and so that with lack of available placements in our local BOCES, that's increased significantly, that we need to use residential placements.
So therefore, we put in some extra monies into the residential placements.
And this is one that you can't really predict what it's going to be.
You really can't. It changes probably on a weekly basis.
Right. We get transfers in,
yes.
maybe residential students.
Yes. So it is, but we realized this year we were underfunded because we're having more kids because of lack of services being put in residential. And then the special ed, the 2250 codes, that's all our special education codes. Those are salary increases from contractual. The only teacher we added in special ed was in the high school. So the rest are all the salary increases, contractual salary increases. The 160 code, 2250, 160, which is the aides in special education, we didn't add. Actually, I do have a extra aide in every building because we found that with kids coming in that require one-on-one aides, there's more and more as well, which is something we can't predict. So in every building, we put an additional aide. Not that we're going to be able to hire them, but we'll try.
Where are we at for aides right now?
How many?
Like what we need to fulfill all of our IEP requirements versus what we have?
We are still, I believe, we have an interview coming up, but we're 4 short right now.
Okay.
And we're not, so we have ELT aides right now that
Yep.
are through the grant, obviously helping out with recess. And those aides end up getting pulled to cover the IEP need, and we go without an ELT.
Got it.
So the only additional salaries in those account codes are one in every building. 2250-490, which is still a special ed code, but it's our BOCES special ed, so those are kids that actually go to CBS. This year, 22-23, we've just about met our budget already. So they're higher cost kids that go there. We could have a family move in with 3 kids that need to go to CBS, and our budget is blown because they're $100,000 a piece. So we put in some extra money to give us a little bit of a buffer, just if we have more kids coming. That we are budgeted. But we're gonna fully spend, I think, our budget this year.
And again, that's often due to transfer students that come in that are already placed there.
Yeah. 2280-490, which is on the same page, is page 15. That's our CV Tech kids. So again, that's an average that BOCES has been doing now for the last 4 years. They do an average. It's been about 3 years, maybe. So again, that is set by BOCES. I like the averaging. You always know what you're going to spend versus one year you may have 90 kids that go to CB Tech. The next year you have 70. The next year you have it was bouncing all around. So one way to keep it consistent was BOCES to do this averaging, and that way you know what you're going to spend every year.
Has this gone down now from all the services that we offer here? That we're not sending them to BOCES for?
No, I wouldn't say it's gone down because there's more programs now offered at BOCES than ever before.
And we offer
This is the CB Tech program.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm talking about the welding, the shop, the classes that we offer here now.
Yeah.
We do offer a lot of those
Yes.
things, but they're not the CTE credential either.
Yep.
Oh, so we don't have somebody here with the credentials to actually.
So there's a process to get CTE
You would know
approved
about.
So like, I'll speak to the welding program, right? So I know we have our ag program here where they do have some welding equipment. They do a little bit of welding, but like the BOCES program is in line with, I don't want to say it's in line with NC3, but it's in line with like the American Welding Society Sense program. Super comprehensive. And I know we offer some, we kind of touch on some stuff
So
here.
we're like the intro to.
Yeah, and I mean, so I know we touch on some stuff here, but I don't know if it's I don't think it's as in depth.
So I can't remember how many kids were going this year. A lot.
I'm not sure.
Could be.
It looks to me like the three-year average, I think is what they're using, has gone up a little bit, and that's a piece of this plus their additional salary raises.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it is nice to know the set cost. You're not guessing. So it's nice. It's a good budgeting tool. 2630-160, which is on page 17. That is the additional IT person that we have in the budget. Okay. 2810-150, those are our guidance counselors. So there is an additional guidance counselor in there. And we had all kinds of movement in the guidance office this year with retirements and people moving from one building together. So there was a lot of budget changes that we cleaned up. $5510-170, that's transportation. And that's on page 22. The salary codes, those aren't additional people. Those are just salary increases. The mechanics, for instance, we're going to go out for a mechanic at a little bit higher rate to see if we can get one. We have one mechanic right now. We normally have three. So we are outsourcing a lot of our maintenance work because one person cannot keep up with the maintenance work that we have. We do have some subs that come in on the weekend that help out. They're very good. But they only have a day here or a day there. They're giving us what they can. But we need a mechanic, at least one more. We can get by with 2. 3 is nice, but 1 is not. He's tired. So. Some are diesel. We don't have a ton of diesel left. Most of them are gas.
They are.
Mm-hmm. So all the new ones we buy are gas. So as they get older, the diesels are all going away.
Hopefully gets your way.
And then yes, going to electric.
My company sells electric charging equipment. I'm fine with it.
And then we go to 9010.
Taxpayers might not be.
Well, yeah. You're not wrong.
9010, page 23.
Yep.
Those are ERS benefits that went up. And ERS went from 10.6% to 13.1%. And of course, salaries also went up. So between the two, that's what we're looking at for an increase. PRS actually went down just as much. But it
So the rate went from
10.6 to 13.1. And salaries also went up, so it's a percentage on a bigger number. And then
one question. Do we have a reserve for ERS?
we do. ERS and PRS. We have one. And then you had a couple questions about budget reductions.
Yeah, the nursing staff, health services.
And I can easily explain it. Last year, we had come up with an idea of getting aides and putting aides in some of the nurses' office to help out with filing phone calls and all that stuff.
Can't find them.
So we bagged that idea. And we actually have a typist. The typist for athletics is shared with the nurses, and it seems to be working okay. So it's a 50-50 person. So that's how we're managing that right now. So I took the aides out of those budget codes because I can't pay them. So yeah, that's where we're at. So that was why those went down. We had grand plans, but our grand plan didn't. And then the librarian that you asked about, we had one retire, so there was some breakage. And the Beekmantown Middle School salaries, it was breakage between retirees and new people and moving up people from building to building. So those were all Mr. Treasurer's questions. Patty, you're next.
So on the last page, page 25, on that 9950, the interfund transfer capital, that's a capital reserve fund?
No.
Okay, good.
This is the general fund. Capital reserve fund is completely separate.
Okay, so this is our general fund.
And this is money we're transferring from our
Which we can
capital
do as
reserve,
a-
capital, it's a budgetary thing. So I have to pay the expenditures out of the capital fund, because we have all these different funds. We have federal funds, cafeteria funds, general fund. I have to pay the bills out of the capital fund, but I have to budget them in the general fund. So then I have to move them from the general fund to the capital fund.
Got it. So you pay them out of the general fund, and then you pay them back
Right.
from the other
I move
fund.
the money to the capital fund because
Yep.
they have to be paid out of
Yep.
the H fund, which is our capital fund.
Yep.
But the money is actually set aside in the general. Legally, I have to do that.
So the capital fund and the capital reserve fund?
Capital reserve fund is something completely different.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. And that, if we move any money from the capital reserve, we would have to ask for a loan.
In which we are doing this time around.
Yeah.
So in our proposal, in our capital project proposal, we are asking to use $1 million of our capital reserve. And there's 1.6 and change in it.
Are the funds from like our ELT grants and stuff like that? Are those in here?
No, this is just the general fund. This is what the
Strict.
public votes on, is just the general
Got
fund.
it.
This is their monies coming in from them.
Understood.
Yeah.
So my next last one. So if I did this right, on that 52, 749, 123, that's the range photo. So if you did your 4% for your general fund, it would come up to $1,582,473.66. That's what it is at that 4%.
That's what it is.
And that's when we only have 4%, even though you say we're older, because we are older, right?
Oh, yes, we're over. And I'm being perfectly honest with you, and I know a lot of you are on the same page, is I would never go down to 4%. That's dangerous territory.
No,
$1.4 million
I understand
on a $52 million budget.
But I thought when we got audited, and the gentleman who got into the audited said that we were over the 4%, said we could end up with a penalty.
No.
They never do.
There's no penalty. We have to write the corrective action plan. They give you a slap on the hand.
So you get a minor on the audit, you write a corrective action,
Correct.
and you keep doing it.
Pretty much.
Got it.
Every single district does.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Because 4% is such a dangerous number.
I'm not naysaying it. I'm just
No,
making sure I understand what we're doing.
About that penalty because we had a meeting, and we, in our audit committee, that morning with Nicole and NDA, and we were talking about that penalty and that stuff.
No, there's no penalty. I mean, you do get written up, but there's no monetary penalty.
Oh, well, that's, thank you.
And then I did a preliminary, and this is really preliminary tax rate, guys. I haven't called the county yet. I'll probably call them next week, first week of April. Not that they're going to have a real solid idea of what assessments are going to go up in each town, but that's what I do. I call and say, hey, can you give me your wildest guess? Give me a percentage, for Altona, Beekmantown, Shazy, and Plattsburgh. What do you think percentage-wise our assessments are going to go up? I did a very preliminary. I did some low numbers for assessments going up. We know our levy, so the only numbers I'm missing are my assessments, and I'm coming up with a $16.31 tax rate. We were at $16.24 this year, so that's a 7-cent tax rate per thousand.
So
That's what I'm looking at right now. Very preliminary.
give me that again,
16.31,
and what were we last year?
16.24.
So we went up a little.
7 cents. But that doesn't mean that's going to be the final number. It could be much lower.
Oh,
But
so it could be.
I'm being very conservative because I don't want to go the other way. It's easier to say it's going to be lower than it's going to be higher.
I want it to be lower so we can talk taxpayers that.
Unfortunately, I don't know that until August.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Remember, this is my nerdy, this is my moment.
Figured I'd give you the opportunity to shine.
This is for all the years I know somewhere.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. We'll move on to minutes. Resolved that the acting superintendent, Superintendent of Schools recommends to the Board of Education to approve the following minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
All motion.
Chris, second.
David?
Dave, thank you. Personnel, resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education that the following resolutions on this consent agenda appointments be and are hereby approved. Can I get a motion, please? John and Patty, thank you. 7 policies.
Should these be voted on as we're doing them? Motion, second, discussion, yes, no, and then we vote?
Oh, I guess yeah, you're right. I guess we should be saying that. I should be saying that, right? You want to go through them back again? I don't mind. I'll reread them. Okay. We'll start at the first one. Chair Pro Tem. Resolved that the Board of Education appoint Douglas Beebe as Chair Pro Tem for this meeting. Who was that, Kelsey?
Chris Gadway motion and Dave Trudeau second.
Okay. Yes, no, abstain?
Yeah. Aye.
Curious what would happen if we all went no?
Oh, that's all right. I'm out.
Call it a day.
Number 2, call to order. Resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education to approve the agenda. I think motion was Patty and second by Patrick.
Yep.
Yes, no, abstains?
Aye.
Aye. 3, 4, 5 minutes. Resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education to approve the following minutes. That was motion by Chris and second by Dave. Yes, no, abstain?
Aye.
Number 6, personnel. Resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education that the following resolutions on this consent agenda appointments be and are hereby approved. That was motion by John and second by Patty. Sorry, can't even read my writing. Yes, no, abstains?
Aye.
Thank you. 7 policies. Resolved that the acting superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education to approve the following policies, which are wellness and nutrition regulations, use of timeout rooms, physical restraints and aversives, and use of timeout rooms regulations.
It would be a motion in a second, but it's not on there.
That's okay. We will do it. Motion?
Second, Rick.
Oh, what?
John and then Rick.
John and Rick. Oh, okay. Yes, no, abstains?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Would anybody in the audience, we have one more public comment, like to address the board? Okay, thank you.
So I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an IT question. So I'm going to look at you, because I really don't know what IT field. Do we keep track of our tablets? I heard a thing on the news saying that a lot of schools lose their tablets. But do we keep track of them? We know where they are. If they get broken, they're replaced.
Yes,
Things
yes,
like that,
we
right?
keep very good
We're not
track.
one of those schools that says, no, we have none here.
No. Yep. Director Lambert's right on top of that.
And can I ask, say something does get lost, the child loses it or whatever. I know it's replaced, but
Who pays for it?
Yeah.
Well, so there's an insurance policy that families buy so
Oh,
that
okay.
it's covered. If families can't afford it, then we help out.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you.
I don't believe we're going to have an executive session that I know of, so I don't think we need a clerk pro tem. So unless anybody else has any other questions? Okay, we've We'll adjourn this meeting at 6:45. Resolved that the Board of Education adjourn the meeting at 6:45.
Motion.
Motion, Patrick. Second, David. Yes, no, abstains?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.